Hey everyone, welcome to the latest Phonexa webinar. My name's Evan Weber. I'm with an agency called Experience Advertising, and we're going to bring you a thrilling webinar today about the pay-per-lead industry, some of the latest happenings, developments, and I'm joined by Sevada and David, who are users of the platform. Myself, I'm an agency. I work with advertisers and publishers as well. So we're just going to take you through some interesting topics today on the pay-per-lead industry. And do you guys want to just give a quick little intro on yourselves, and then we'll get into the questions?
All right. I'm Sevada Markosyan. I'm the CEO for Zero Parallel and Profitize. We're lead generation networks working with affiliate marketers and buyers in different verticals, short-term loans, insurance, solar, and expanding to other areas. Mainly our operation is in the United States right now. And we're using Phonexa as our software for all of the business models that we have.
I'm Dave Pickard. I'm CEO of Phonexa Limited here in the UK. We are a all-in-one tracking platform specializing in web leads, calls, clicks, emails, and lots of other stuff that I'm sure we'll get into throughout this. But yeah, we have clients like Sev at Profitize and Zero Parallel to use our system. And yeah, I guess the point of this conversation will be talking about how people use our software and what kind of tips and tricks we can have to help people scale their campaigns.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about what everyone's talking about right now, which is the latest news in the industry. New rules and regulations came out for the pay-per-lead industry, and having to do with one-to-one consent for sending leads to people, and also robotext, I believe, banning robotext. So do you guys have any insight or thoughts real quick on these new regulations?
Yeah, I mean, it's progressing as we speak, right? We just got the final ruling out today, and it looks like it passed, as well as some new language that came out with it. So there's new developments all the time. I think the main thing is if you're working in the web lead space, you have to revisit this, take it seriously. It will create some changes within the industry, depending on the model that you're using, whether you're using a ping tree model with direct post or a ping post model. It can affect you a little bit differently. But it is going to change how lead generators operate going into next year. For some businesses, it might be small changes, and then for others, it might be bigger changes. And we could talk a little bit more about it as we go through some of these questions. But it is going to affect the way that you're gathering consent, and it's going to affect the way that you're processing leads. I think if you're following some of the guidelines that the FCC put out and coming up with some creative models, there's already a few people that have already put out some new models. We're working on creating something ourselves to provide to our affiliates so that they can navigate through these waters. We know a lot of people are looking at Zero Parallel, Profitize, and Phonexa to kind of be the company that brings out some sort of model that everybody can use. So we're in discussions right now to try to help people navigate through a challenging time, but something that we can all get through.
Yeah, and isn't there a period of time, like a compliance period, where you have to come into compliance with these type things?
It's supposed to, the new language is supposed to come out in January or towards the end of January. I think initially they had discussed a 6-month period where implementation would come into effect. I believe earlier this morning, there was a final ruling where they permitted an extension to 1 year instead of 6 months. I have to review that, but I believe that's what everybody was pushing toward within the lead gen world, so that they can have a little bit more time to implement something. So if that did pass, then you have 1 year from January when the new language comes out for implementation.
Okay, so that seems reasonable, I guess. Yeah, well, as you know, the lead generation industry has always been somewhat fraught with potholes and hurdles and obstacles to jump over. So, I actually see this maybe as a good thing, a positive clean up the industry a little bit, and consumers will benefit. And I honestly don't think it's going to hurt any lead gen companies per se. Do you?
I think it will affect even the ones that are operating the right way, but it shouldn't affect them drastically to the point where they'd have to obviously, shut down operations. I think like you said, Evan, you're right. For the ones that aren't doing things in the right manner, it is going to be detrimental to them.
Right.
For people that are doing things correctly, there is going to be changes they need to make, but it is something that is doable, and it is something that should allow you to still keep operating and keep generating good revenue as we go into next year.
Nice.
Throwing the English 2 pence into the ring, I would say, we're pretty much used to regulation changes here in the UK. I think we can probably be to blame, I guess, for some of this stuff with GDPR coming in 2018. So yeah, I have a more, I guess, optimistic approach to this kind of stuff, to see that, we're pretty lucky that we work with really good lead generators. And when you work with good lead generators, they're used to making changes and optimizing and all that kind of good stuff. So when you're in that frame of mind anyway, regulatory change, as annoying as it can be sometimes, because it can put your ads into a new learning phase and all this kind of stuff from an automation perspective. Ultimately, if it ends up, if you do things in the right way, you can end up in a better position. I like regulation in the UK because what it gives us is a rule book. Essentially, no one can come and take away our business at the end of the day after we've built something following that rule book. So that's the frame of mind we're trying to go at it. With Phonexa and people like Profitize and Sevada and the guys there, we're looking at this as like a consultancy thing. We're sitting down with them and coming up with strategies between us to launch something that can actually solve this problem and be a real groundbreaker in that kind of problem solving.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed, US versus UK, for instance, is it's US is such a broad area, and UK is so centralized. You can get things done quicker. I feel like I've even noticed that in the affiliate industry, it's a much tighter community than over here. We're all spread out. Whereas over there, you can go to a pub and meet 100 people in the industry and one night, on a Thursday night. But so that's differences in the industries and the in the culture and how it impacts. But yeah, let's talk about leads in general. And obviously you can do leads on various models, cost per click, cost per lead, cost per acquisition. But let's talk about a little bit about how Phonexa's system optimizes for that. One of the most important things with advertisers is just selling the leads well enough to the right buyers at the right times. So it's really important to emphasize how an actual algorithm is involved in distributing the leads, dispersing the leads, and how that benefits both the publishers and the advertisers on the front end driving the traffic. I don't think enough people appreciate how you have to have a lead optimization platform actually selling the leads effectively in order to really drive more traffic on the front end, and how they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, something that we encourage clients to do, I guess if we go one layer back when you were talking about the different metrics you can use, pay-per-click, CPL, CPA, that kind of stuff, just something that we encourage in Phonexa is visibility on all of that. That's kind of the point, making sure that you're tracking the lead gen journey from start to finish, first impression all the way through to final conversion. And if you are able to track all of that, you're giving yourself the best chance of actually making it work. And then being able to automate that, make sure that your team are there doing the icing on the cake stuff, not the mundane tasks, so all the way through from lead generation, for example, even if it's validation, making sure that you're generating the right customers, real customers, validating their contact data, all this kind of stuff. And then all the way through to, once the customer is a lead in your system, as we would call it in Phonexa's ecosystem, what do you want to do next? A series of automation to make sure that you're placing that person in the best possible home for the product that they're looking for. I guess we'll come on to a little bit later in sort of tips and tricks into how to find those buyers, as we typically would call them, but homes for the leads. But essentially the key use case for Phonexa is really building an automation system to distribute those customers, and when they are distributed and they have been served their product, i.e. they have converted, they are, they've been acquired, if you want to call it that, then automating your communications back to the media buying platforms, back to Facebook, back to Google, using all of their tips and tricks as well in terms of their automation tools. We're seeing a lot more people now using things like Google Performance Max, so where that is then enabling them to deliver their campaigns across all of Google's marketplace, and using that first party data, which again is kind of a theme to everything right now with the whole regulatory change, and then even cookieless world that we're navigating into right now. The use of first party data, we're encouraging people to take control of your data, use that data to then influence your advertising, even if that's even if you're just buying leads from your publishers. Feed that information back to your publishers so that they know which campaigns are working, which customers are converting, and go and do more of the good stuff, basically. So that's, I guess, Phonexa in a nutshell. Maybe Seb can talk about how he and his business use it on a more granular scale, maybe like a niche by niche scale, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, between both of our companies, Zero Parallel and Profitize, I think to your point, Evan, it's important that you have a software that allows you to use whichever model that you need to, because a lot of our advertisers will require different models in the way that they purchase leads. And as a network, when we're working with affiliates, we also have to be flexible in some areas of how we're going to pay our affiliates. Some affiliates will only work with you if you're going to be able to pay on a cost per click. Some advertisers will only pay you based on a cost per acquisition. And so you have to try to navigate those waters to make sure that you have a platform that can support both you servicing your advertiser in the way that they're going to pay you, as well as how you're going to service your affiliate to make sure that you're getting the traffic that you need. And so we have the platform that with Phonexa that we use, where it allows us for a majority of the time to do cost per lead, which is the model that we're generating, and we're paying our affiliates on earnings per lead. But we also have affiliates that we test with cost per click, and the platform allows us to run that type of logic. In certain scenarios, we'll also do cost per acquisition, and we have that logic built in too. So within one platform, within the same niche, and within the same pink tree, we can operate all three different models, and we can allow ourselves to be able to be flexible to get the most volume and quality from our affiliates, as well as servicing our advertisers as well. So I think, if you're interested in making sure you look at a platform that can take care of all of those payout structures with the right pink tree model and do it all within one niche, definitely Phonexa can satisfy all of it.
Yeah, and that's really important to optimizing that whole machine and make it a well-oiled machine. From the publishers being happy and your media buyers converting well enough to increase budgets, to the buyers being as happy as possible and them having no issues, so they keep paying you like they should, and there's no issues there. So having a system that optimizes all of that is gold. It's critical. I remember 15 years ago when I was branching out into my own enterprise, I was looking for platforms like this. They didn't even exist. So it's refreshing that this type of technology has been brought to companies to really make this type of thing work, because in the past it was a nightmare trying to keep track of everything and optimize everything. So that's amazing. Yeah, well, many interesting topics around lead generation. A good one is lowering the cost per acquisition, lowering the effective cost per lead, strategies to do that, making it a more profitable enterprise. Can you talk a little bit about that, Sevada? Just how it achieves that?
Yeah, I mean, a few different ways you can do it. I think number one, if you're starting out as an affiliate or you're an affiliate that's generating good volume and you want to try to reduce your cost, a good way to do it is work with the networks that you're working with to see what type of tools they have available to you to try to increase your click-through rate, right? For example, one feature we offer in our short-term loan space is a lookup functionality, where consumers, instead of filling out a long, maybe 20-page form, we'll be able to provide our form to our affiliate and still have them use it on their own website, or they can use one of our offers, and the consumer can put in 3 bits of information, the date of birth, social, and email, and we'll be able to do a lookup within our database to see if we have that consumer's information already. If we do, we can provide a verification page for the consumer to click through and verify it's the same information, and then we can process that lead without necessarily having them complete the entire application from start to finish. Makes the process for the consumer easier, makes the journey more enjoyable for the consumer as well. Plus, it increases the click-through rate for the affiliate so that they can increase the number of leads that they're generating with the same type of monetization that they're spending on their ads. So lookup abilities are really important. Other networks may have other features that they can provide them as well, a platform that can maybe help them track certain campaign metrics to make sure that they're allocating the right funds to the right campaigns. For example, with our PPC affiliates, we'll have post-back instructions that will work with them with their Google ads so that they can link the payouts that they're receiving with the right ads so that they can allocate the right funds to the right ads as well. Being able to even retarget consumers, sometimes getting new consumers is more costly than being able to retarget the same consumers that you're already, you've brought to the market and have sold for high values. And also working with the networks on targeting the consumers or time parsing. We have certain affiliates that find it's more profitable for them to generate leads just during the weekdays, maybe even certain hours during the weekdays, and then they stop their spend as we go into off-peak hours or the weekends because they're not necessarily, generating the same profit. So you cut your costs in the areas that it doesn't make sense for you, and you work with the network to get some more detailed analytics in regards to what states are working best for me, what parameters related to pay frequency or related to zip code lists are working best, and you start targeting in those areas so that you can generate even at the same volume of leads, but more profitable leads as well. I think those are some key takeaways you can probably implement, whether you're a new affiliate or you're an existing affiliate, and try to cut down some of your costs.
Yeah, it's really important that the affiliates prosper as much as possible. A lot of companies don't appreciate that you have to actually make the traffic convert better for them. You have to put in the work to actually make sure they're clocking the kind of money they need to make to push you as hard as they can push you and do more. Along the same lines, the buyers need to get their leads at the right time, which is optimized towards them converting the most on their back end. And then to your point about the CPA, if the CPL is the initial and then the back end transaction or CPA, that can be batched into the system, or then the ad platform that can show more insight into ROAS, return on ad spend. So, all these optimizations, it's really cool how, you can optimize all the way from the affiliate click, or even before the click, you can show the right content to the right people. So you're only even getting the right people into the funnel, so to speak, in the first place, which have a higher chance of converting. So over time, those things, bear out and get optimized and improve, and everyone's happier and it does more.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's cool. So Phonexa can, it basically that's what it does. And there's a lot of tools Phonexa has. It's very feature-rich platform. So I have clients that use it for 2 things and does 10 things. So it's definitely a very robust platform, and people need to utilize more of its features, in my opinion. But let's see. So let's talk a little bit about just tips and tricks. We're not going to go on and on. Today we could go on for hours, to be honest, with who we have on the call, but we want to deliver as much value as possible in a short period of time, I guess you could say. One tool that I think is coming on the scene and will be utilized more are using chatbots to capture leads, right? And generate phone calls. So one thing I've learned over the years is that only maybe 10 to 15% of people will fill out a form, right? Depending how long it is, how many steps, if that. You're lucky if you can get 10 to 15% conversion rate, but a chatbot can convert at a higher rate. because it's an interactive, now AI-powered chat with the user to, garner the information needed. It gives them quality, info about the company. It gathers the lead. It presents a phone number. In my opinion, it's a great place to send traffic to convert it well into, from click to lead. So I think that's going to be, a bigger thing in 2024 is just chatbots and however AI can play into this whole equation to generate more leads, have the conversation with the customer, actually, and it seems human and it gives out good information. I mean, what I've seen recently has really impressed me with what these chatbots can do for lead gen.
Yeah, it was one of my points that I was going to put down earlier when we were talking about the regulatory things. In terms of AI, for one, it's kind of like the buzzword right now. We at Phonexa probably could use the word AI more. We always talk about this in our marketing meetings about how should we jump on the AI bandwagon and actually start saying everything we do is AI. Realistically, we've kind of steered away from it. We deal more with what we would call machine learning. The user of the system is more in control of what's happening, but you're using the data to optimize things. So we have auto optimizing features within the system to allow you to manage your campaigns and ultimately make sure that when you want to go and have a margarita on the beach, you can actually go and do that, and the campaigns are going to be looking after themselves and auto optimizing themselves and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the dream. But in terms of AI, it's certainly something that's taking over. I guess from our perspective, we're getting asked about this left, right, and center, and actually the way that we've kind of handled it so far is our clients. We always encourage our clients to rely on first-party data, or at least data analysis. So get the data within one system and make sure that when you are using a chatbot tool or a machine learning tool, that you're using optimized data to do that. These things can be used poorly and executed poorly if you're using unoptimized channels and things that you know what it's like. You've got too many plates spinning and you're using something to automate something, but actually you could have done it better yourself if you'd actually just looked at it properly. So that's one thing that we certainly encourage our clients to do is get your campaigns in a place first where you've got your automation set up to optimize for the actual lead generation element. So get your retargeting, your audience builders set up, your include, exclude lists, all that kind of stuff set up, and actually go away and generate customers first. We are seeing, you're right, really good uptake in the AI bots for getting customers on the phone. So with Phonexa, we have both the web lead tracking solution and the call tracking solution. And what we typically will say is that a lot of our clients arrive to us using one or the other. They've always generated web leads or they've always generated calls. And what we will generally say is, cast your net further and wider. Try both. Ultimately, that's kind of the point of us putting them all under one roof. Generally speaking, a lot of these conversions happen. The customer buys the product often over the phone. You've got to generate them initially over a web lead or actually gather their data somehow first of all. But if they don't want to talk to you there and then, an AI chatbot is a great way of getting them on board. We're seeing some really cool clients in the UK use it for debt campaigns. So getting customers into what is quite often a product that is, I guess, difficult to deal with, difficult to talk about, difficult to pluck up the courage to actually go and try and solve that issue. And the AI tools initially are carrying out that initial outreach to the consumer. The customer is landing on what our clients are using as like a customized thank you page, like a personalized thank you page. Hey, Evan, we're ready to help. One of our agents is going to call you at this time from this number. First of all, that's going to improve your contact rate. Hey, by the way, we're ready to talk to you now. If you'd rather just speak to us here and now, just it could be two-way WhatsApp. We've got that integrated as well, or a chat bot, just to kind of warm them up. We call them nurture campaigns, essentially warm them up to the idea of, hey, we're eventually going to have to talk to you, but we can do a lot of this legwork initially. But actually, my point to go full circle, I know we want to try and not be on here an hour, like you said. Make sure that you're basing all of that on your first-party data up front. Make sure that you're basing all of these optimizations on the stuff that is working, rather than just jumping on the AI bandwagon and assuming that AI has therefore solved your business problems overnight, I guess.
To Dave's point, we have affiliates always exploring new ways of doing things. AI has definitely come up in a few conversations. Some are already using AI for SEO optimizations. We also have some debt buyers using the chat box feature with AI to try to filter some of the leads that they're purchasing. But there's a lot of cool functionalities we're discussing internally with AI, and we're discussing with Phonexa to see what areas they can support us in. And I think that as you look into that, you have to just kind of figure out the right platform that offers a tool with AI that allows you to actually do things the right way, because right now there isn't a significant amount of compliance, I feel like, because there's so many changes happening so quickly to AI. But eventually when these things start to, there's the players that come in and they dominate that space within the features that they're offering for AI, whether it's the chat box or it's another feature. There's going to be more regulation that comes out with it. So you want to be associated with a company that's going to be doing things the right way and that can navigate through those waters so that you don't have to completely change your entire model once regulation comes in and one or two companies decide, well, we weren't doing it right to start. Now we have to change things up and try to do it a different way.
Exactly. You always want to do things, above board in this industry, and even though a lot of people cut corners in this industry. But just back to the call thing, a lot of businesses, like you said, they want calls, they want people on the phone, and it's very hard in general to get people to call from, digital marketing or digital advertising, and get them to actually connect. They'll click, and then they won't click the second call button or whatever the case may be. They don't make it all the way to the representative. So yeah, I have seen success with presenting the phone number in the chatbot and being like, click here. But it definitely needs a full funnel, like a multi, you email, SMS, the whole 9 yards but all done very well and above board. I think that's, what needs to be emphasized to a degree is that these are consumers, they're, data in, data out and being, sold, so to speak, but they are consumers that need answers they need services that, it sucks when someone, you drive a call in and then the call center doesn't answer the phone, or, we can't help you in that area when they really could, or like you have clueless call center people. So those things can happen as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. But what lessons, let's wrap up. Again, we could talk about a million subjects in the industry, but let's just give one, anecdote or lesson you've learned from the industry that could help some advertisers or, publishers that want to break into lead gen. What's a good, thing to keep in mind going in?
I would say there's two things to really keep in mind. Number one, decide what your identity is going to be. Most affiliates start off as affiliates, then they want to become lead gen networks, then they want to start tapping into what the advertisers do. When you try to be everything for everybody, you end up being mediocre at best in all of those areas. So pick what you want to do and move forward in that direction. And I've also seen lead gens try to become affiliates and compete with their own affiliates, which is something we set as a rule in our company that we don't do. We let our affiliates be affiliates. We're the network in between to help them process their leads. So pick what you want to do, understand your identity, and stick to it. You're going to be better off for it. And number two, know when to build and know when to use an existing platform. A lot of companies try to build everything because they think it's the right thing to do. Sometimes you end up spending more money with a less functioning platform instead of using a platform that's already there. If you're an affiliate that's trying to generate good quality volume, good quality leads, try to work with softwares that already have the infrastructure built out to what you need, and do the part of the business that you're great at, and let the software companies do what they're great at, and utilize everybody else's expertise for it. And Phonexa, I think, can really help with a lot of that. I think that would probably be my advice to. I'll let Dave add his last 2 cents.
I agree. You've banged the Phonexa drum for me already there, Seb. So I actually used to be a media buyer, so I'll put on my media buyer hat for this answer right now, seeing as Seb has waved the Phonexa flag already. So I guess my old joke in my office back then was that I don't make decisions. I split test everything and then go with what the numbers tell me to do. So it makes running a lead gen business very easy when that's your ethos. So, and that's kind of how we've built our software is essentially, I said this earlier on, giving our clients access to all of the data, allowing you to split test things and then do what the numbers tell you to do. You do that every day. Every day you're going to get incrementally better and incrementally closer to taking up whether that's margin or market share or whatever it might be, business away from your competitors. Those are the kinds of things that either your competitors are doing or they're not doing it as well as you, and you'll easily get a leg up on them if that's what you're going to do. So make sure you're reporting on first impression all the way through to final conversion, and a way of identifying each traffic type, split out source by source, campaign by campaign, and just go do more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff, and you're going to end up in a better place.
Absolutely. And let me just underline the point that, yeah, tools and softwares, it's all about using the right platforms. I tell people all the time, just, you have to have the right tech stack. You have to have there's many tools for each thing. So you have to be able to, either get a recommendation from someone already using it, or, it's really important because there's so many choices in platforms and tools, but tools are in general, the way to go. They're the future. They're the now. So yeah, listen, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. That was a very stimulating conversation. Everything from compliance to optimization. Phonexa actually does a really good job with fraud detection, which we really didn't get into, but definitely wanted to mention that because that's something that keeping everything clean is very important, for the buyers especially, and optimizing the sources coming in and keeping all of that running, and also this platform has a lot of automation, a lot of red flags that can be set up, a lot of rules and that can be set up. So all of that allows a lead gen network or business owner to run it smoothly without having to worry about getting killed here or there. You have all the things in place to prevent that from happening or detect it, so you can nip it in the bud as quickly as possible, which is hugely important to keeping the numbers how they need to be. So you're not, paying a publisher that you shouldn't be, or paying, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, any last thoughts, guys?
We have even more coming on the fraud detection, so you teed me up perfectly for that. That's my last thought. Make sure you're following all of our posts and our developments, because we have probably 6-8 weeks time. We'll have another release for everyone.
Amazing. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks guys for being on the webinar, and it went great. We'll see everyone later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.